We're with Justin Berry in LA at Bellator. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic.
How'd you get into martial arts, man? I know you've been doing this for a while.
Okay, so I started training when I was 14 on a basketball court with it's funny, like I walked in this gym and I saw this guy like working on the heavy bags on a naval gym. Yeah, because my dad was in the military and I used to go on that base and like work at the gym. I saw him hitting the heavy bag and I was like, man, this dude's nice, right? And so afterwards, I asked him, I was like, hey man, like, are you a martial artist? Da, 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 da. And he's like, yeah, man. And I was just like, hey man, you should, I'd be down to learn something from you sometime. And, it just turned into this crazy relationship where like he became my coach and just taught me boxing and kickboxing. He learned from his dad. He was from New York City and he was a firefighter on that base. And I trained with him every day from that point for like the next 2-3 years. And then, kind of like a year after that, I had this Korean friend who was really into pride fighting. And I didn't really know much about it then. And he put me on, he was like, oh man, you do martial arts? You should check this out, Yeah. And I started watching Pride and I was like, damn, this shit is like dope. This is like the grappling aspect of stuff. And I was like, man, this is really cool. So like I joined this, this was back in 2000 and I don't know. It was like, I'm not even gonna do math right now, like 2002, something like that. Like this is early, right? So there weren't many martial arts gyms and this was in Williamsburg, Virginia. So, I somehow found this mixed martial, this MMA gym in Newport News, which was like the neighboring city. And they did like Jeet Kune Do, CSW, Eric Paulson's combat submission wrestling, and Muay Thai. And I was like, bet. I was like, this is it, right?
Allen Iverson's from there, right?
Yeah. Man, there are actually quite a few people from the 757 area code. So Williamsburg is included in that 757, but like Newport News, Hampton, Missy Elliott's from there, Timberland's from there, Allen Iverson's from there, like Pharrell. We actually got quite a few clips, like Pusha T's from there. There are quite a few like entertainers.
Something's in the water. A lot of talent.
Yeah, there is.
And you.
Hey, yeah, that's right. Started training at that gym, Eastwind Academy. Yeah, man, wow. So it's been, and then after Eastwind Academy, you want to just go over my whole background? Is that cool? Okay. So,
you can fight. I want the story.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, I went to a university like right around there, so I kept training there. And like I wanted to fight and stuff, but I couldn't find any amateur fights, and it was just hard back then to find amateur fights. And so I went to university, like 4-year university, and graduated. Moved.
No big deal.
No, I mean, it was hard work. I mean, it's just like fucking everything, You got a job in DC, Washington DC, and when I moved there, I started training Muay Thai with these two dudes from Thailand, just OGs from Thailand. It was called Warriors Gym. They closed it down, but Warriors Gym, that was a good fight team right there. And then I started doing gi jujitsu. This is my first jujitsu in the gi. Got my white belt from Nakapan Pungaporn in Washington DC at Beta Academy. That's where I met Suni. Okay. This was in an abandoned church. Nakapan had just started this gym in the church. There was no AC, no heat, but there was this huge mat space where I guess the worship area was, and it was this old Catholic church. And man, we used to get it in there. Nakapan is an incredibly talented martial artist. He's a world champion jiu-jitsu fighter, IBJJF, world champion Muay Thai fighter. He's incredibly talented. And I got my white through brown belt from Nakapan. So I owe honestly most of my jiu-jitsu to him. His jiu-jitsu is fucking phenomenal. Not only is athletic, his technique is it's on point, So, I was training at Warrior Gym too at the same time, like when I first moved to DC, and that's when I, fought in Muay Thai a couple times, and then I fought in WK World Kickboxing Association. They have like an amateur Muay Thai tournament every year, and I ended up winning that title at light heavyweight for them, which was a amazing experience. So glad I got to go out with everyone there. Like it's just fantastic experience. I believe Sunni fought in that as well. I don't know. I don't think it was the same year, but he went as well. And so after that, like I would say I really started getting into jujitsu after I won that championship. I really started to focus on gi, and so this was, I don't know, it was maybe like 25 at the time or something like that. Um, Now long story short, at DC, just kept training and got my brown belt. Shout out to Luke Thomas. Luke Thomas trained with us too in DC. Yeah. We actually Tim Dawson. Like there's quite a few really strong martial artists in DC. Um, so so I got my brown belt, and I ended up. So I was kind of bored with work, and I wanted to go to grad school. So I applied to grad school, and I got in at University of Central Florida. And so, moved down there and ended up training at American Top Team in Orlando and Fusion XL, which both very talented. So Paul Rodriguez, I always ended up at these fucking amazing martial arts gyms. Like Paul Rodriguez is an ex-Pride fighter, and Julian Williams at Fusion XL. People will know who he is. Like so, Mike Perry came up under Julian Williams. That's where Rodolfo Vieira is now. Jacare was there. I was training with Jacare at the time.
Man, you train with Jacare?
Oh yeah, man. Jacare put a beating on me a few times in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I was actually helping him get ready for one of his fights because he needed a southpaw. But yeah, man, I trained with a lot of those dudes. Julian Williams is one of the best MMA grapplers I have ever seen. He is phenomenal. Like the fact that he isn't like in the top 10 in the UFC right now is a goddamn shame, man. That guy's athletic ability and his technique on the ground. Whew.
Wow, I gotta check him out now.
Oh man, Julian Williams is like Jesus. But so I learned a lot from Paul and Julian and just working with those guys, just like training hard. And so then after that, I ended up moving to Seattle just for some more work. And I trained with Ivan Salaver. He's also another ex-UFC fighter out in Seattle. That's my boy. Ivan is my dog.
Man, small world.
Yeah. So okay.
No, I know who he is, but it's like everyone knows everyone. You know what I mean? Like with martial arts, jiu-jitsu, I bet in particular jiu-jitsu and MMA. It's such a small world. Everyone kind of knows everybody. There are a lot of resources, and you've trained with so many good people, and now you're in Bellator.
Now I'm in fucking Bellator. It's bizarre. It's bizarre the way it works. But I mean, I did. I chased after this, after, Seattle, I started working remotely and everything. And I was like, I want to fight. You know what I mean? I want to fucking fight. I want to show everyone what I can do. Like I have a lot of skill in martial arts. I've been doing this for such a long time. And like I want to, enter that flow state, enter the dragon. You know what I mean?
Oh man. I know. I see the Bruce Lee shirt. But so you've got, I've seen you have to take it easy on pros, and you've got the jiu-jitsu experience, you got the Muay Thai. You're also a big guy. How tall are you?
6'4".
You're 6'4". You're over 200 pounds. You got a cut for this fight, but why get into martial arts? No one's really messing with you. If I'm walking down an alley, you're not the guy I mess with. You know what I mean? I pick on someone else. But you are a consummate student of the game. You're also a student. You're going to college, graduate school. Why?
Man. Jeez.
Is it because it's hard? You were saying earlier, like, well, yeah, it's hard like everything. Is it because it's challenging?
It's very challenging. So that's definitely one reason. I think fighting is the hardest. So I played basketball in high school, and I played soccer when I was a kid. I played a lot of sports. Martial arts is by far, it's just hard. Like fighting is just hard. It's just hard. Like it's hard to execute things like the way you want to for a long time. It takes a long time to be able to execute things in a fight the way you want to. And when you finally get to when I finally got to that stage, I'm like, yo, like I don't want to let this go to waste. You know what I mean? But like even more than that, like martial arts is a very spiritual expression. Like it is like it when I'm fighting, like I enter that flow state and nothing else exists. And like it's like pure creativity. It's pure creativity. It's not like I don't know how else to explain it. It's something that when you're in that place, nothing else matters and nothing else can kind of compare to it, And I think, any person who pursues a craft, anyone who tries to be a master at a craft or has something that they really, really enjoy doing can enter that state. You know what I mean? But I think like fighting just injects you directly into it, like immediately. And I love being there, So yeah, I don't know. Those are a couple of reasons why I do it,
Oh, I love that. I love that answer. I mean, it's so true. It's like, it's very difficult. It's like chess. You can never master it. You know what I mean? And there are severe consequences. You're in it. You can be injured or worse. Any little thing. It's a game of inches or millimeters. And here you are. So you're bringing everything you got into this. This is your pro debut, right? With Bellator. With Bellator, you're on the big stage. I mean, what's that like? I mean, you're at the Forum. You got a full capacity crowd. It's $1 million championship fight. From what I heard, it's the biggest MMA event on the West Coast this year out of COVID, and no pressure, huh?
Honestly, like this isn't to say I'm not anticipating it or I don't have nerves. Like I have that energy. That's useful. That's incredibly useful energy. You have to have that energy. But like I don't care about I appreciate the opportunity, but I don't care about that it's Bellator or not. You know what I mean? It's just fighting. It's like the lights, and I don't do it for the lights. I don't do it for anybody else. I do this for me. This is satisfying something for me. This is my calling. This is my inner voice. And, ultimately, like, that other stuff doesn't speak to me. It doesn't feed me. The fight's the only thing that feeds me, I don't know if that makes sense.
That's something Bruce Lee would say. It's like the love of the game, So who are you training with now? I know you're up in LA. You're kind of consolidating. You're figuring out your coaches and everything, and here you are. So who are you training with, and who are your coaches?
So right now I'm training at Black House MMA, and my jiu-jitsu coach is Johnny Fadia, Joao, and Professor Fadia, and Alianza, San Diego Alliance BJJ. And so I was training with him for a while before I moved to LA, but I'm still training jiu-jitsu with him. And at Black House I'm training with Jason Park. Sometimes we go to Boxing Works, sometimes we go to mostly we train out of Black House, but Dr. Jason Park, excellent coach, both incredible coaches. And then Kenny Johnson is the wrestling coach at Black House, and I also did some work with J Flow in wrestling when I was down in San Diego. So yeah, I've got some world-class coaches.
What do you tell to someone who wants to be a fighter or they want to get into martial arts? What does it do for you on a personal level? What does it do for you besides just being able to, defend yourself, beat people up? What do you tell to someone, maybe they're having a hard time, they're coming out of COVID, they want to get started, they don't know what to do, and they're looking at you on TV now. What do you say to them?
Would you say the question is what would I say to someone coming up? Like, what do I get out of this? Why do I do it?
Yeah. Why?
I don't think there's anything more rewarding than facing an intense challenge. You know, whether you I don't even know if succeed or fail is like the right word to use, but like making the commitment and the choice to face an intense challenge and going through that, it's like a rite of passage. And like it's the feeling, there's nothing else that can there's nothing else that can top that feeling. There's no money, there's no woman, there's no anything that you can get. There's no car you can drive that's gonna make you feel the way that makes you feel. Just knowing that you had the courage and the discipline and the drive to put yourself through that. Like I would tell this person, like, there's no better feeling in the world, and there's nothing more satisfying. I know it sounds like some mystical bullshit, but like, I know people want to be like, oh, well, yeah, you get like 70,000 followers. I mean, I don't have any fucking followers on Instagram, you know, but no one is ever going to be able to take that from you, you know, and that's that shit you take to the grave. You know what I mean? Like, there's very few people out here that you can that have that shared experience. And that's why when you meet other martial artists, other fighters that have gone through it, there's like an immediate like recognition. It's like, yeah, like that's a warrior, you know? So yeah.
I love it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. Thank you. Oh man, I gotta end on that. That was dope. That was fucking